Hello everyone, I am BowserJrXD. Welcome to the Bahrain feature race for Formula 2, race 4 of 28 for Formula 2 in 2025. I once again slept through the Formula 3 race that was about an hour ago, or started about an hour and 20 minutes ago. That race was won by Rafael Camara. It's his second win of Formula 3. Perhaps more importantly, he's won both feature races, and he's jumped out to a 26-point lead over Red Bull Junior Tim Tramnitz. Well, and then, of course, the rest of the field is kind of a footnote at this point in F3, considering how good Rafael Camara has been. I'm even pretty sure he also won pole. So, anyway, we move on to Formula 2. Today, Formula 3 champion Leonardo Fornaroli will start on the pole. And, yeah. So, let me, I'm going to start, make sure the stream works for my, see if any of my friends want to jump in. Hold on. Where the, there it is. I thought I lost my browser. Okay. But here is the starting lineup for today's race. Okay. Starting 22nd, driving to number 21 for AIX Racing. 20 years old from Glasgow, United Kingdom. Cian Shields. Starting 21st, driving the number 16 for Rodan Motorsport. 22 years old from Temse, Belgium. Amaury Cordial. Starting 20th, driving the number 12 for Dams Lucas Oil. 24 years old from Bangalore, India. Kush Maini. Worth noting that for F2, there are exactly half the field is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 of the 22 drivers are rookies. Cian Shields is the first of those. So Kushmani, 20th, starting 19th, driving the number 15 for Art Grand Prix, 25 years old from Zushi, Japan, Ritomo Miyata. Kushmani, Alpine Jr., Ritomo Miyata, Toyota Jr. Starting 18th, driving the number 9 for Prema Racing, 20 years old, representing Colombia, the American-born Colombian, Sebastian Montoya, the second rookie. Starting 17th, driving the number 23 for Trident, 22 years old from New York City, Max Esterson, rookie number 3. Starting 16th, driving the number 4 for Campos Racing, 17 years old from London, United Kingdom, Arvid Lindblad, the 4th rookie, and a Red Bull Junior. Starting 15th, driving the number 5 for MP Motorsport, 24 years old from Benschop, Netherlands, Richard Verschoor. Starting 14th, driving the number 11 for Dams Lucas Oil, 19 years old from Charlotte, United States, Jack Crawford, the Aston Martin Jr. Starting 13th, driving the number 24 for Van Amersfoort Racing, 21 years old from Salisbury, United Kingdom, John Bennett, rookie number 5. Starting 12th, driving the number 10 for Prema Racing, 20 years old from Palermo, Italy, Gabriele Mini, the Alpine Junior, and the 6th rookie. Starting 11th, driving the number 3 for Campos Racing, 19 years old from Barcelona, Spain, Pepe Marti, the Red Bull Junior. Now in the top 10, starting 10th, driving the number 20 for AIX Racing, 21 years old from Asuncion, Paraguay, Joshua Dirksen, who was disqualified yesterday. Starting 9th, driving the number 8 for high-tech Toyota Gazoo Racing, 21 years old from Linköping, Sweden, Dino Beganovic, the Ferrari Junior, and the 7th rookie. Starting 8th, driving the number 25 for Van Amersfoort Racing, 23 years old from Leon, Mexico, Rafael Villagomez. Starting 7th, driving the number 22 for Trident, 20 years old from Marseille, France, Sami Megatunev, the 8th rookie. Starting 6th, driving the number 6 for MP Motorsport, 20 years old, the UK-born German, Oliver Goethe. Starting 5th, driving the number 2 for Invicta Racing, 21 years old from a place I can't pronounce in the Czech Republic, Roman Stanek. Starting 4th, driving the number 17 for Rodan Motorsport, 19 years old from Offaly, Ireland, Alex Dunn, the McLaren Jr., and the 10th rookie. Starting third, driving the number 7 for high-tech Toyota Gazoo Racing, 23 years old from Kingsley, United Kingdom, Luke Browning, the Williams Jr., and the 11th rookie. Starting second, driving the number 14 for Art Grand Prix, 23 years old from Quincy sous Sénart, France, Victor Martens. And on the pole, I should also mention before this, the pole time by Rafael Camara was 1 minute 49.214 seconds, which is an average speed of 110.8539 miles per hour, or 178.3947 kilometers per hour. Now for this, starting on the pole for F2, driving the number 1 for Invicta Racing, with a pole time of 1 minute 44.008 seconds, an average speed of 116.40258 miles per hour, or 187.32405 kilometers per hour. 20 years old from Piacenza, Italy, the highest starting rookie, Formula 3 champion Leonardo Fornaroli. That is the starting lineup for today's feature race at Bahrain. Yesterday's Formula 3 race was just over 100 kilometers, while... Oh, Dunn was penalized? I didn't realize... why was he penalized for? Oh, so he lost 1 position. And, okay, some time penalties. Okay, so... Okay. Just want to look up race. Yesterday's race, the F3 race is just over 100 kilometers, while the F2 race sprint was just over 120 kilometers. The F2, so the Formula 3 sprint was 22, which is just under 120 kilometers, and the Formula 3 feature is 32 laps, which equates to about just under 175 kilometers.
Stop the drivers will have to take today. We will see them using both the soft and the hard tyre. They'll take on this circuit. We are making our 10th appearance, that's our 9th appearance on this GP layout.
The top 10, so definitely split strategies potentially up and down the field. Looks like we will actually do have some drivers starting on the hards and some on the softs inside the top 10.
Yes, so it looks like Luke Browning has gone for the white wall hard tyre.
So, with F2 feature races, this is the first one I think I've covered since Abu Dhabi. Mandatory pit stop. Well, one mandatory pit stop.
Let's first tell you how they line up from back to front on the grid, and we will clear up what happened in the sprint race yesterday, because the order is not as you saw it finish. We did have post-race penalties.
Dirksen disqualified, Dunn dropped the place.
From the race.
That's what they're talking about.
Post-race, we had a 5-second penalty also for Alex Dunn as well. Joshua Dirksen appears disqualified from the race.
Yes, his rear diffuser
Dirksen was the points leader. He will not be anymore.
Right
Richard Bashore will be the points leader.
Unfortunately, all these F2 cars, of course, are identical, so they must comply within the regulations, and it's, even though it's only 2 millimeters, a small amount, wouldn't have had a massive measurable advantage on circuit, but of course it's an either a pass or fail scrutineering check, and unfortunately for Dirksen, that meant that he wasn't able to retain his podium that we saw him on yesterday. That promoted Dino Beganovic onto a podium. We didn't see him take that podium, but of course he takes the points.
And we saw him in FP1 this weekend in a Ferrari alongside with Luke Browning. But as you said, Dino Beganovic on to the podium for the second time in Formula 2. It means Richard Bashore is our championship leader on 13 points. The points, well, we'll take them at face value. We've only done 2 sprint races so far. We had a cancelled feature race at Australia due to weather conditions. The first time that's happened since 2021 at Sochi. That was a very wet race. So appears there's some drivers out there, rookies, some of them going into their first feature race in Formula 2. They have some challenge coming up here.
Of course, tactically they've got a challenge, but also physically in terms of just what they've got to execute in this race. pit stop. It's going to be their first pit stop in anger for a lot of these rookies, pulling into a grid box and hitting their marks, making sure that they get away cleanly, as we've seen issues in the past with Formula 2 drivers getting away from the pit boxes.
Doing a formation lap.
There is Arvid Lindblad pulling away from his grid box. He scored his first points in Formula 2. So let's see them pulling away. We will bring the grid to you very, very shortly. You can see them all pulling away. Looks like all drivers have got away nice and cleanly. And we are on to the formation lap. We'll bring you the grid in just a second. You can see the top three. Fornaroli, Martins. In third place is Luke Browning. We caught up with our top three after qualifying on Friday. Let's start by hearing from third place, Luke Browning.
I think our race pace was good, but equally very much the focus on collecting points at the start of the year. So yeah, I think I'll get stronger and stronger, considering it's my first full season and my first time arriving at these circuits. I just want to collect points early on, and then hopefully that puts me in a good place towards the end of the year.
For sure, there will be key moments in the race that I will be using my experience, and I think mentally on the emotion side will be important to stay calm, because it's going to be a long race. Also, seeing which driver is going with which compound, I think there will be a mixed for sure. So let's see. But it's going to be fun to watch and fun to drive.
I don't have much pressure. Like I did last year, I will just try to do my best. We saw that the pace in race simulation was strong in the test. So yeah, I will give my best and try to score as many points as possible, and I win if it will be possible.
There we hear from our top three. Let's give you the grid in full then. Row one, Fornaroli on pole position for the first time. Victor Martins, now a Williams Jr. alongside. Row two, Luke Browning and Alex Dunn. Roman Stanek is on row three with Richard Verschoor. Sami Megatunic and Rafael Villagomez are on row four. Then it's Dino Beganovic, Joshua Dirksen completing the top 10. Points go to the top 10. Pepe Martin, Gabriele Mini. Row six, John Bennett and Jack Crawford are next. Then it's Ollie Goethe and Arvid Lindblad, Max Esterson and Sebastian Montoya, Ritomo Miata and Kushmaini, Amadou Cordial and Kian Shields now on the option tyre. The soft tyre are Montoya, Crawford, Marty, Villagomez, Megatunic, Stanek, Dunn, Martins and Fornaroli. We have the likes of Browning up there going for the hard tyre. The pit lane opens at the end of 6 laps. They have to do a compulsory pit stop. Dino Beganovic is going for the harder tyre. Points go to the top 10 in Formula 2. F1 point star system is going to be a 32-lap race. Final thoughts, Piers Pryor, before we go racing.
The hard tyre won't be quite as good off the line and won't be so good in the first few laps, but potentially it allows them to go longer into the race. So keep an eye out for those drivers on the white-walled side, the white Pirelli sidewall tyres, as they might be coming strong towards the end of the first stint. And then also they'll be quicker in the second stint after their pit stop on the option tyre.
We've had so much history in Formula 2. So many drivers go to F1. So many champions. Who's going to be the next driver to become a winner? To the left of screen, Victor Martins. To the right is Leo.
And we're green at Bahrain.
Time we are go in FIA.
Fornaroli leading the field to green as it's 3 wide for second. The other Invicta, Roman Stanek up to second.
It's going to be his teammate in the other yellow Invicta.
But not as it goes to turn number 1. It's the McLaren Jr. Alex Dunn up to second now. Stanek back in third.
That looks like it might be one of the Van Amersfoorts of Villagomez up to fourth, who's made a brilliant start. The likes of Browning.
One of the Red Bull juniors making it 4 wide to the next turn.
We go 4 wide into turn 4. Surely that'll end in tears.
I think it's
Looks like
Goethe.
they all just about got through. Pepe Marti, that is on the
Villa
attack.
Gomez
He was on the
trying
top
to
step
get
of
to
the podium
third.
yesterday, and now he's firing his way up the order into P5.
Brilliant start from Fornaroli at the front of the field, taking the lead. And we saw Dunn being racy yesterday in that McLaren-coloured Rodin, and he's already up to second place as well on that option tyre. So 2 option tyres, drivers at the front of the field at the moment.
We would expect the likes of Luke Browning to drop back, and anyone else who's on the harder tyre. We will go for 6 laps before we see that pit lane open and compulsory pit stops being made. Clean start for Leo Fornaroli out front. Alex Dunn, a clean start to the race for him. And then we've got Villa Gomez and Stanek fighting away. There you can see some of the white wool hard tyres who will go a bit longer in the race before we see them come in. They've gone for an alternative strategy in this race as we head through turn 13 and make their way down towards the final two corners. And that is one of the Dams Lucas Oil cars. On the attack, that is Jack Crawford, who hasn't had the start to the season.
Trying to get by one of the
probably
probably
into the final
Dirksen.
corner
He
to
gets
pass
the spot.
Joshua Dirksen, who will looking to be recover some points after what happened post-race yesterday. That is a change for P9. Lap 1 complete. Fornaroli leads, and he's broken DRS as that is now enabled, Piers.
That's an absolutely ideal first lap of what Fornaroli would have wanted. Of course, that fighting second, third and fourth allowed Fornaroli that clean run through 1 and 2. We've still got lots of drivers side by side. That's
who's making that
Beganovic
move?
going
That's
around the
Beganovic.
outside.
Beganovic going around the outside. Gabriele Mini in the pink Alpine Academy colours, trying to get down the inside of John Bennett. Gabriele Mini, it's not been a good weekend for him. He was fastest here at the in-season test. So these drivers have done race runs, so to speak. And Gabriele Mini will not be happy with how things are going so far. Sebastian Montoya celebrated his birthday on Friday. They're in the Mumbai Falcons livery. They have different liveries, those two. They are teammates, and Montoya wants to get by his teammates.
I didn't realize that he had Mumbai Falcons is a team that runs in the Middle Eastern
very quickly.
Yeah,
lower formula races. Yeah, the lower formula races in the Middle East. I didn't even realize that he had that.
But that's
that
going to
was
leave him
his
vulnerable on the exit
livery.
to his teammate of Montoya. At this stage in the race, soft option red sidewalled Pirelli tyre is going to be better.
Ignore the options. We are P2 on prime strategy.
There you go. That's the way the teams will be viewing it. Is you want to be as high up the grid in terms of your similarly slick shod tired cars. So those with the hard tyres, we're racing those with the hard tyres. Those are the soft. We try and do the best of the drivers on the soft. Advantage of going hard at this stage is not evident, but later in the race they will be able to go longer before their first pit stop, and also if there is a late safety car, they can pit for soft and then come on strong at the end of the race.
So he's fighting with Dirksen, essentially. Dirksen for P9, when he says he's second in that strategy race, he is fighting for Dirksen in 9th. So we will keep an eye on that battle
1.3 seconds ahead
as the race progresses. It's coming into view now. They can see the number 7 and they can see the white wall tyres on those cars. So this is essentially the other battle we have going on in this race, and that is a move trying to be made by Max Esterson, who will want to see the flag today. It's been something that hasn't happened to him so far in both races we've had. He's had block not on his side going on, and there is confirmation of tyres to the left-hand side of the screen. Gabriele Mini
that's the back of the pack. That's Miney passing by, and Cordial passing Esterson.
He needs to get a move on there in 15th.
Yeah, he needs to get past those tyres.
And Esterson repasses Cordial.
He'll have more pace at this stage of the race, and if you don't exploit that extra grip from the soft tyre at this stage, then you are, of course, leaving yourself vulnerable. Let's have a look back at the start. It was a great start from pole position from our Invicta of Fornaroli, but also a great start from the other Invictas. We legitimately go 4 wide down towards turn number 1. It was amazing that we came out cleanly at the front of the field. Everyone having great spatial awareness at this stage. Dunn getting into second place. The two Lucas Oil Dams cars going side by side, and further back in the field, also 3 wide going down to turn number 4.
This is Richard for sure. Let's have a watch of what happened to him. Poor getaway for him, and that lost him a lot of places.
Yeah, he just didn't get away from the line. A little bit of wheel spin in the second phase of the start. Drop behind. He's then in the middle of the road. He's got a bit of a gap in front of him, which he's driven into at this stage. And look at the cars fanning out left, right, and centre in front of him. Gets a good exit through turn 2. Behind Beganovic at this stage. Getting in the slipstream again. He's on the hard tyres, so that would potentially be a contributing factor to that poor start. Has a look up the inside of Beganovic. As Beganovic goes around the outside, I think that's Dirksen and right in front of us at this stage. That was the 4 wide we saw from the TV angle earlier on. Oh, sandwich through there is second. Is that...
That's Beganovic and one of the Dams cars. I think that was Crawford. And that's the wheel spin from the front row for Victor Martins.
Yeah, Victor Martins, you saw the black marks on the road as he got way too much wheel spin and the car squirmed away from the line, and this is how Dunn got through. Actually quite an easy overtake up into second place for Dunn. Yesterday he was fighting hard, feisty up and down the field. Today things are looking a little bit easier at this stage, but can't quite match the pace of Fornaroli in these first couple of laps.
Top 8 is all soft tires. They have a big
Yeah,
advantage for the
so
moment. You will have
different
it
tire
later in the race.
strats. Not really many, might
We saw
probably
a
get
poor
on the
start for
hards.
Richard Verschoor. Gabriele Mini, you would have seen on those star replays. As we were focusing on the front, in the middle, the pink Alpine, he just really struggled to get off the line. Very similar to what Richard Verschoor did, and he tumbled down the order. He's lost quite a few positions. He's on a recovery charge, Gabriele Mini. But Victor Martins now has to try and get back through the order here, Piers, doesn't he? Big wheel spin. He nearly went into the barriers, almost off the line. 6th place. It just has to try and settle down now mentally and recover in this race.
There's two things that can make your race weekend much easier or much harder than it needs to be, and that is qualifying and race starts. He got one done, qualifying, very quickly. Of course, front row, 2nd place. The start, not so much, and that's why he's having to fight the way through the field at this stage. Just got too much wheel spin, and that gives him a lot of work to do now. Fornaroli and Dunn will be pretty happy at the moment. Dunn having made places, Fornaroli held the lead off the start. They can just start to look after their tyres. Of course, both running the option Red Bull tyre, the softer of the two compounds. Let's have a look at a replay down to turn 13. That's a great move from Sebastian Montoya. Brilliant move up into the inside of turn 13. Running wide is John Bennett on the exit, so that won't help his grip in the next couple of corners as he picks up dust and marbles on his tyres.
Montoya using the soft tyres to his advantage there to secure the move on John Bennett. Gabriele Mini has gone with him, by the way, so both of those drivers, past the Van Amersfoort driver, they are up into 14th and 15th respectively. Okay, Luke Browning is now the lead hard tyre
Oh,
runner.
let's say
He's
the
just
lead
gone by
one.
Dirksen. In fact, they've swapped round again. So those two are fighting away with each other, make that Browning ahead. So those two have been side by side. Whoa, there we go, where we said the Victor Martins needs to get on with it, and that's exactly what he's done. He needs to recover in this race, down the inside at turn 8, and through he goes on Roman Stanek.
That was harsh, but in my opinion, fair move. Victor Martins rolled off the brakes in that Williams liveried car. Just rolled to the apex, got alongside before the apex and ran Stanek out of road. Stanek managed to just stay on the road, and now he's going to be under pressure from the 22 of Megatunov.
Great driving this from Sami Megatunov so far this weekend.
Megatunov finished 8th, or I guess 7th after the disqualification of
third for Van
Dirksen,
Racing.
and Megatunov is running 7th again.
He seems to have a boost of confidence.
He's in the number 22 Trident.
Very well. Got a season, a career best Formula 2 results yesterday of P6. Let's see what he can do today. Roman Stanek in the yellow Invicta could be under pressure. We just saw him lose a position there to Victor Martins. Next, queuing up his Megatunov.
Dunn is within a second now.
As you're pointing out, Alex Dunn, who once did not have DRS, now has it on our race leader.
Yeah, closed in by a 3 or 4 tenths on that last lap. Just puts himself within DRS, and now is going to be hounding the back of Fornaroli's yellow Invicta. We've got close nose-to-tail action down the field, but no attempted moves into turn 1. Everyone still just looking to protect those soft Pirelli tyres with the red sidewalls in the top 10. Again, DRS for Dunn down towards turn 4. Not pressuring for a move now as we see a jink out.
Here goes Pepe Marti to the inside of Villa Gomez to get the 3rd. Yesterday's winner trying to make it a weekend sweep. Villa Gomez takes it back though.
For a move there. Well, he's made his intentions known. He wants that 3rd place. I think he can see the leaders getting away here. Pepe Marti, this is a great view. Aerial shots into turn 8. Can't quite get the move done. And speaking of that, Alex Dunn is closing in on Leo Fornaroli, and this is where we're starting to just see who is managing the soft tyres better. End of 6 laps, we can see drivers take advantage of compulsory pit stops, and just as we say that, Leo Fornaroli tells his Invicta Racing team that his front tyres are going, and this gives us a great onboard view of Alex Dunn.
Let's ride on board with Alex Dunn. He's in the dirty air now, so he's having to lift through the long right-hander of turn number 12. Just going to try and get a good exit. This stage of the race, you know, we're about a quarter of the way through at this stage. It's all about preserving these tyres, because even though we do have a pit stop coming up, these soft tyres will struggle to do over half distance. So they're saying that, of course, last year the winning strategy from Zane Maloney was 18 laps on these option tyres, and then a 12 or 14 lap final stint. But that was, as I mentioned ahead of the show, a bit unusual. Most teams deciding that the hard tyre was the one to go for at the start of the race this year. We could see a move down into turn number 1 here from Dunn. Looks to the inside, uses the DRS, gets alongside in the braking zone. Can he get it stopped? Gives a squeeze to Fornaroli on the outside. Brilliantly executed move there from Dunn up to the lead.
And in the background, Pepe Marti has gone by Rafael Villagomez as well. So two
again.
Changes for podium places in the space of one
And
car.
Dunn,
Villagomez
shoot,
is under pressure in the background.
I missed the lead change. It was down the front stretch where Alex Dunn, number 17, takes the lead.
There goes Victor Martins. Well, he's recovering well. It was not the best launch off the line for the Williams Academy driver. Did not have a good sprint race at all. Disaster at turn 1, but he is recovering now in this race.
Browning's in 9th.
Sight set on those two leaders out front, and it's now Alex Dunn for Rodin Motorsport who leads. Sami Megatuniv, are we going to see him make his first impact on this battle? Pit lane.
No, that's right, Victor Martin.
We will see drivers beginning to come in. Let's watch this move back.
Fairly regulation
Down the front
move
stretch,
up the turn 1, got alongside in the braking zone. Braked late. He just held Fornaroli off a little bit, choosing to turn in slightly later than he otherwise normally would have done. This is the move looking back from Villagomez to Marti. Marti had to work harder for that one than Dunn did. Unfortunately, Villagomez, because he got ran wide at the apex, then was vulnerable going down towards turn number 4. And then this is where we saw Martins get a good run, using that DRS. We're on board now with Lindblad further down the field as Montoya getting involved once again, tries to go around the outside. Are they going to go side by side through 2? Yes, they are. Lindblad tries to get the cut back, unfortunately gets blocked at the apex of turn number 2 and couldn't get that move back through.
Victor Martins now with a chance to get 3rd place on Pepe Marti. There's Jack Crawford in 8th place as well. We'll keep an eye on him. Leo Fornaroli has kept within DRS of Alex Dunn, but only just. He was just within 9/10 of a second. Down the start-finish straight we go. Let's hear from our race leader.
We need another 10 laps or so. Copy, feeling good.
Looks like they're going to be copying the winning strategy from last year of Maloney then. If they do pit in another 10 laps, that'll be lap 18, exactly the same as Maloney. 18 laps on the soft, followed by 14 laps on the hard last year.
Fornaroli sticking with Dunn, although I think Dunn is definitely the faster car.
Clearly looked at what happened last year and how dominant Maloney was, and he was dominant in that race, starting P3 actually, so Dunn could emulate that from winning from the front, not from the front row, if he does so. But it's a long way to go in this one. 24 laps remain.
Yeah, they've done in-season testing here, haven't they, Pearson? I guess in that they would have just... They would have had the privilege to do a strategy. We had a safety car at the start last year for a first corner incident, but nevertheless, we went 18 laps last year. And in that 3-day in-season test, they would have been practicing the exact strategy they were going to do in this race.
They would have had opportunities to do race-long runs, 12, 14, 16, 18 laps on both the soft and the hard tyres. I imagine most of the teams who look at it had a go at that. However, it's never quite the same doing it in testing as it is in the race. The conditions, I mean, you can see the number of marbles off of the racing line. You run off the racing line a couple of times in a battle, as we're seeing from the likes of Beganovic here with the AIX car of Dirksen ahead of him, and the dirty air as well. Often in testing, you're running on your own, clean air, and the track may be either hotter or colder and not so much rubber down. All these variables mean that when you come to the race, slightly different conditions, and you have to adjust your ideal strategy ever so slightly based on the driver's feedback, which is why we heard Fornaroli feeding back to the Invicta team earlier on, saying front tyres are just falling away, because then the team will be looking back at their previous planned strategy to then potentially amend it based on their expectations.
Jack Crawford, move down the inside of Sami Megatuniv. That's P7 for Dams Lucas Oil. This is a fascinating race playing out here, Piers. We never usually have this much of a
pass getting set up on the back, I think. Well, I think it was Beganovic and Brashor battling. That's for 11th.
Would be something that drivers may at the back of the field, if you've had a bad qualifying, would usually go for to give you a chance at the end of the race if there is, say, a late safety car. But usually it's never this much of a split in the field. This is going to be really fascinating to see how this plays out over the next 20 or so laps.
Yeah, we're setting into a bit of a lull in terms of racing action at the moment, but I'm expecting it to heat up, especially towards the end. And you see from that tyre strategy split on the left-hand side of your screen there, the soft S red on the left-hand side, mostly taken by the top 8 other than Montoya, and then everyone 9th downwards on the hard. And I think the reason that the drivers that qualified further down the grid have gone for that hard tyre more than the drivers at the front is because they're not going to be able to find their way through, or not as easily on the hard tyre, but they're banking on potentially there being a safety car at some point. They can get effectively a much reduced pit stop loss, and then have that second half of the race with the faster soft tyres. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, we had a safety car yesterday, but there's no guarantee of a safety car in this one.
It has to almost work out for Luke Browning, doesn't it? He qualified on the second row. With what happened to Victor Martins, he could have easily been leading this race. Or it could have very much been easily leading or challenging Leo Fornaroli in the early stages. Let's see what happens, though. He's currently the lead runner of those drivers on the harder tyre, 2.6 seconds ahead of Joshua Dirksen. There is Dirksen, speaking of, now coming under pressure from the other high-tech, which is Dino Beganovic.
I don't think Browning will be too disappointed with where he is in this stage of the race. We see Dirksen go defensive to try and cover off from Beganovic. Beganovic going to the outside in the grey car, the number 8 for high-tech TGR. They both get a good exit. Actually, we've got a move. That is Stanek. Is he overtaking or defending?
That's overtaking Villa Gomez.
There we go. Move through up into 5th place for the second of the Invictors. Looking good at this stage of the race are the Invictors. Fornaroli in 2nd, Stanek in 5th.
Invicta Racing won the team championship last year with Gabriel Bortoletto and Chris Miney. Decent start this year was Fornaroli and Stanek.
Beganovic can't get that one done. He's going to look up the inside
right now,
of 8th.
they're 2nd and 5th.
Dirksen half covers, and Beganovic decides not to go for it, which is allowing
short of the inside.
Up the inside, and
11th again.
Vasseur now on the inside, and Vasseur will now be under pressure from Montoya on the softer of the 2 tyres in the Mumbai Falcons livery just behind.
In towards turns 10 we go, and Richard Vasseur now wanting to get a
14th, 13th.
You go past Dino. They're all queuing up here, similar to what we see towards the front. We have
14th place Arvid Lindblad and 15th place Gabriel Mini behind both of them.
Out with those tyres slightly in this battle, but let's see if it swings for him towards the end of the race. Then we have
on our 10th lap right
in
now.
The points, youngest point scorer in Formula 2 yesterday at just 17. And Gabriele Mini next behind. Ollie Goethe, John Bennett, Rotoma Miata, Kushmini, Amarin Cordil, Max Esterson, Kian Shields round out the field. But in this battle specifically, Montoya's 3rd in train. Then it is next along Arvid Lindblad, and then behind that we have Gabriele Mini as they head down the start-finish straight, and in the background, pit stops are underway, and John Bennett is coming into pit lane first. So our first pit stop is about to happen, and it's going to be John Bennett for Van Amersfoort Racing in first.
He's coming in on the hard tyres, looking to pit and change to the option soft Red Bull tyres.
But
so
what?
You can get some
It's
clear
why would you run the hard less than the soft?
Undercut the drivers that he was around.
Unless you think you can make him
Let's have a
last
look
that
back
long.
at a replay. This was Stanek on Villa Gomez. Managed to get the good exit out of turn 1 and 2. Used the DRS to drive quite easily past around the outside regulation.
And this was for sure. Attempted move at turn 8 on Dino.
Didn't get it done. Got alongside, but then couldn't get the exit. And then Dino, of course, going down towards 9 and 10, had the inside line and actually did well for sure to cover off from Montoya behind in that Mumbai Falcons livery. Montoya actually had a bit of wheel spin on the exit. That won't be helping his rear tyre life.
Crawford, 7th place. Now trying to line up a move on Villa Gomez. Then it is Stanek, who we just saw go past 5th. Martins has not been able to quite break down Pepe Marti up the road, and we have a group that all has lost DRS to each other. Dunn is doing a great job out front. He is 2.5 seconds clear from the field. In towards the final 2 corners. Are we going to see some moves this time? Villa Gomez may have to attack to stay ahead of Crawford here. Let's watch this one play out. Down to the first corner, and Megatuniv just was holding on. It looks like he's lost DRS this time. There is Crawford trying to make position. John Bennett has come in for soft tyres, and now we have the next driver coming in, and that looks like
Gabriele
Mini in the Alpine Academy car, and that is confirmed to the left-hand side of screen as Richard Verschoor. Well, he tried once at turn 8, wasn't successful, and now he's through at turn 1. This time, position change for P11, Piers.
Beganovic didn't fight that one particularly hard. I think he almost resigned himself to the fact that Verschoor has more pace at this stage of the race and is quite happy to go with Verschoor. Clearly, Beganovic not feeling great on his tyres. If his tyres are feeling really good at this stage, he'd be pushing on and trying to hold that position. If they're starting to go away, then he might have defended it more. Here we go. Verschoor using the DRS, not even a hint of defence from Beganovic there. Verschoor will say, thank you very much, I'll take that position. Gets it stopped, and away he goes in pursuit of Dirksen.
So we're having the opposite play out here, aren't we? We're having the drivers on the hard tyre coming in first, which is not usually the case. And the message from Rodin Motorsports, Alex Dunn, was he needed around another 10 laps. That came in about 4 laps ago, and so he would expect him to go maybe another 6 laps. That is how many laps Zane Maloney went last year, but this is not the norm. And that means Gabriele Mini's going to have to take these tyres 20 laps in this race, which is quite some distance, and we're expecting more drivers in this lap, including the likes of Richard Verschoor.
It's slightly counterintuitive that these drivers are choosing to pit early from the hard tyre, because you'd think that, you know, logically the hard tyre lasts a little longer if you see a couple of drivers peel into pit lane. Well, that's Pepe Marti actually from 3rd.
Victor Martins is in, so the first of the soft tyre runners is in.
Yeah, my mistake, it is Victor Martin, not Pepe
makes
Marti.
more sense than
That's
the other
Gomez trying to get down the inside of Stanek.
Stanek holds around the outside, sees him coming, gives him space, but then of course Villa Gomez now is going to have DRS down towards
Wait,
turn.
did Bennett go for more soft? Martin, Verschoor, Beganovic, Montoya on pit
also
road.
Getting DRS there is the 3rd of these cars, trying to go around the outside of 2.
Bennett went for
standing move, he can get that one done. Well, it's worked on 1.
Actually, Bennett and Mini on softs.
Brilliant move. That's
Well, they're both on.
Villa Gomez.
It was weird because there was a white indicator for Mini's tire pit stop count, although it should have been red for softs.
Just one person to each tyre in Formula 2, not like what you see in Formula 1. The teams work incredibly hard, practicing throughout the weekend and on build-ups to race weekends as Gabriele Mini goes round his teammate Sebastian Montoya. And look, he should get the run here on Dino. Yeah, Mini getting a good exit. No tyre warmers here in Formula 2, so coming out the pits, you have to take a lap or so to get your tyres up to full operating temperature, which Mini has the advantage of, and is why he's so easily able to swoop around the outside of Beganovic. Mini in that bright pink car for Prema Racing. That undercut for Mini at this stage has certainly worked. And from going back to your racing experience, Piers, how hard is it when you're coming out on cold tyres like that, fresh out pit lane, to get them up to temperature?
Yes, hard twofold. One, because you have physically less grip. These Pirelli tyres work best when they've had a few corners to get some temperature into the rubber and it softens up. But secondly, also judging how hard you can brake, where you can brake, having just come from a different compound that's at full temperature, all the way to a new compound that's below the optimal temperature. Yet tricky, which is why you see drivers lose time on that outlap.
Well, Alex Dunn, our race leader, has been told to box.
We also have Roman Stanek and Luke Browning in pit road. Joshua Dirksen to pit road.
We saw Zane Maloney go 18 laps last year, but that was with a safety car. Okay, in we go then. Now we start to see drivers really coming in, and it's Roman Stanek in there, Piers.
A little bit slow at the rear end for Roman Stanek, but a fairly regulation stop. Another little slightly slow stop for Josh Dirksen, but it's amazing that these teams, they work so well. They do a lot of practice behind the scenes to get their pit stops absolutely nailed. Of course, only 6 mechanics allowed on the car.
road.
One jackman out in front of the rear each, and then one person per tyre. So that person on each wheel has to take the nut off, take the wheel off, grab the new tyre, put it on perfectly, and then tighten it up and make sure it's tight enough to go before they release onto the circuit. Looking at sort of like a 6, 7, 8 second pit stop as opposed to Formula 1's 2 or 3.
So there comes Dirksen back out onto the track. We've seen him now, the likes of Browning, Goethe and Miney. There are your pit stops. So Victor Martins has come through pit lane ahead of Stanek and Browning. So Stanek ahead of Browning, Verschoor, Mini, and then we've got Beganovic, Bennett, Montoya, Dirksen, Goethe and Miney.
I think the reason we're seeing a lot of early stops for these hard tyres is that the soft tyre just looks like the faster tyre, and if they can keep it alive for the race, which looks like they are because we're approaching or just over half distance now, or approaching half distance, should I say. Oh, yeah, it's done. Looks like he's staying out, actually, so another lap.
He's being told now to stay out. Will Leo Fornaroli and Pepe Marti follow suit? That is the question. In terms of Victor Martins, they're around 38 seconds ahead. In terms of Victor Martins, as we see them head through. Alex Dunn on soft tyres, and then we have Fornaroli, Pepe Marti, Crawford. Let's have a look at what happened in the pits. I think this is going to be Dirksen coming in.
Dirksen in. I think keep an eye on the left of shot, that right rear tyre. I think was the one that was sticky. Yeah, it was. That right rear. Looks like the mechanic either dropped the wheel or not, or dropped the gun. It cost him a couple of seconds and a bit of track position, but nothing too horrendous.
Out of pit lane they come there. You can see Vershaw in the orange MP, ahead of Mini, ahead of Beganovic, ahead of Villagomez, and ahead of John Bennett, and then ahead of Montoya. This, a little bit further up the road, is Villagomez, and this is Sami Megatunov. These are drivers that have not stopped yet, so we have not seen any of the top 9 drivers on circuit come through pit lane just yet. Max Esterson nor has come through pit lane yet. And Alex Dunn, they have seen what's going on with pit stops, and they're deciding so far that they want to stay out.
Clearly Dunn's tyres still looking okay as Pepe Marti looks to be boxing this lap. When the teams make their strategies, they're weighing up 2 options. One, they do the theoretical fastest way of doing the race, where they have looked at the times, the overall lap time for, options for each of the tyres. Generally, the softer tyre will be faster but fall away more, and they use a bit of calculation to find the overall fastest race time, and then they weigh that up with their position on the grid, because also your race time is affected when you're in traffic.
Fornaroli being told to box.
Fornaroli being told to come into pit lane. Pepe Marti likewise, so we will see those drivers coming in, and there we go. Leo Fornaroli and Pepe Marti are in, and this is where the 2 teams have to get pit stops bang on. They're not far away from each other as they both crawl in. Pressure is on in Victor Racing. Here we go to deliver Fornaroli a good pit stop.
This race feels a lot worse than yesterday's, that's for damn sure.
A little slow at the rear, but a good getaway from the pits. Let's have a look on the pit exit. It is Fornaroli that maintains his track position ahead of Pepe Marti. Looks like Pepe Marti's actually made up some time though.
And now it will be crucial to see where they come out in reference to Alex Dunn. Alex Dunn is still out there for the time being, so we keep an eye on that. And where do they filter in? There goes Victor Martins, so he has gone ahead of Leo Fornaroli and Pepe Marti. And there is Luke Browning. Meanwhile, this is Roman Stanek defending from Richard Vershaw, so Leo Fornaroli 3 seconds behind Victor Martins as they head through, and Alex Dunn is now being told to come into pit lane. Let's see where those 2 filter out in reference to each other, and where he comes out in terms of Victor Martins.
Stanek and Vershaw fighting there. Vershaw with the softer tyres, Stanek with the harder tyres, and therefore Stanek couldn't hold on and fight. Fastest lap for Luke Browning. He's been in the pits. He's now gone from the hard to the soft tyre and making use of that pace advantage. I think he's about equidistant compared to Fornaroli and Pepe Marti. However, he now has a soft tyre, which is quicker than those ahead.
Victor Martins is doing a great job here, climbing himself up the order. He has gone by Fornaroli and Pepe Marti with that pit stop. He did come in earlier, though. Here comes Alex Dunn now. Right, this is important for Rodin Motorsport. They need to deliver a good stop here. Fornaroli and Marti were in last time as Rodin Motorsport get to work on their stop.
They need a good stop
Dunn.
He did have a bit of a buffer, but can easily be eroded with a slow stop. Looked pretty solid from the Rodin team.
All right, and Crawford
should come out still at the front.
And Megatunov
Fresh
is in.
hard tyres on, so they are using two tyres in this race. We have the soft and the hard. Where will he come out in terms of Victor Martins, who's at the top of screen?
Lindblad, who takes the lead.
Corner. He's making his way down the start-finish straight. Remember, he will not have as much grip as Victor Martins. Victor Martins is making his way down to the first corner, hits the brakes, and now Alex Dunn. It will be all about getting those tyres up to temperature, Piers.
Dunn is ahead, but of course, you mentioned, Chris, don't forget that Dunn's tyres will be much cooler than Victor Martins. Also, Victor Martins
Miata is also
Dunn,
in.
it's a voyage into the unknown. He's not driven those hard tyres on this track condition at this temperature at all yet. We got further fighting as drivers come out the pits. The Trident, Megatunov, side by side as Montoya makes his way through. Does he exit turn 2? That's so close through there.
Almost contact
Wow,
there.
negative by
Victor
Montoya.
Martins is half a second behind Alex Dunn. So Victor Martins, who had a poor start
Montoya
to the
noted
race,
for speeding on
made
pit
his way
road.
back through the order, came into the pits early. Looks like he's going to execute this undercut perfectly and get himself challenging Alex Dunn. Arvid Lindblad yet to come through pit lane. He is in the lead for the time being, but our effective battle for the lead is between Dunn and Martins. And they are just 6/10 apart. And now we ride on board with Alex Dunn, and Victor Martins is right there.
A lot of DRS
He's
on
within
this
DRS.
track.
This is our battle for the lead pit.
Yeah, looking back from Dunn now towards Martins. Martins has done brilliantly to come in at a good moment in the race. He's got those tyres, the harder tyres, up to temperature quickly, and has closed the gap to effectively the race lead. So he's undone some of that poor start that he had at the beginning of the race.
Here we go. Are we going to see the move this time? Down towards the first corner. Alex Dunn is just trying to make his way out to the final corner smoothly and keep off Victor Martins. Arvid Lindblad comes in. We await to see Amaury Cordial in 5th place come in, and now he will come into pit lane. Gives a little bit of a tow to Pepe Marti behind, and this will give us an idea of where exactly we are in this race. It is Alex Dunn who leads, Victor Martins, Leo Fornaroli is behind, Pepe Marti is next. Those four are all on hard tyres.
Looks like Martins is now at a DRS.
Luke Browning is on the soft tyre and has the fastest lap of this race, and there he is at the top of screen. He's challenging Pepe Marti for 4th. Is this going to be a change this time? Yes, it will.
Browning to the
Pepe
inside.
Marti
He
does
takes
not
the 4th
defend.
position.
Luke Browning goes through, and that is a change of 4th place. The driver who did start
We're past
third,
the halfway point
alternative
and are at
strategy,
15 laps to go.
underuse for him. He dropped back at the start. His team told him, do not worry about this.
5-second time
And now
penalty
he is
for
starting
Sebastian
to
Montoya
get some
for
rewards
speeding
from that.
on
It's
pit
whether
road.
he can make this last the entire race.
You notice that Marty didn't fight that particularly hard down towards turn 4. That's
Dunn
what the
is
team
pulling
had
away
told
from
him
Martins.
that Browning is on an alternative strategy, and therefore fighting effectively would have been futile with Browning having those softer Pirelli tyres. He would probably have made his way through eventually, and therefore fighting would have just hurt Marty's opportunity against the likewise strategied cars around him. Let's have a look back at this Jack Crawford pit stop. A slow stop here.
Oh no.
Yeah, front right. Looked like it was a gun issue because the mechanic on the right rear had to go and assist with the
Sucks
right
for
front.
Crawford.
That cost Crawford at least 5 or 6 seconds, maybe 10 or so. So they make a tune-up as well for Trident. Ooh, rear wheel spinning on the jacks, so clearly not a well-oiled pit stop there. It's a little issue, would have cost him a bit of time as well. Here's Bogdanovic, trying to go around the outside of Stanek. Can he get that done? Yes, he's got the softer tyres on, more grip around the outside, side by side on the exit. I think he's probably going to swoop around the outside into turn 7. Does he? Yes, he does.
Good driving from Dino. You can see the difference of the tyres there. Gabriele Mini, not a good start to the race from him. From the green lights, dropped back off the line, but he's been trying to climb back through ever since, and now he is looking at 8th place and Roman Stanek. Luke Browning is closing in on Leo Fornaroli. Speaking of Invicta racing drivers, he's just done a 1:48.9. He is almost 2 seconds a lap faster than Fornaroli and Martins, and that's about the gap between them. But let's focus on this battle because it is for points. It's Roman Stanek versus Gabriele Mini, and Mini is going to perform.
It's not
a
to
switchback
determine
move
who
here
will
to try
get
and take
points,
his place,
just
Piers.
Using
more
the
or
extra
less.
grip that he's got on
Mini
those
takes
new
8th from
option
Roman
tyres,
Stanek.
getting good traction out of turn 4 and getting alongside Stanek. Mini's race was not looking great in the first stint, but this alternative strategy going hard first and then soft seems to be paying off, which again is
Going
alternative
for hard to
what we
soft,
saw
Browning
the
is
winner from
the
Lane St.
highest of
Maloney
those,
do
is
last
4th,
year.
and also in the top 10 for sure. Bogdanovic, Mini, and Bennett.
1.8. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
Chow for now, and continuing to extend that gap. So the advantage that Martins had on pit exit of Dunn has gone away because now Dunn is pulling away at the tune of about 2 or 3 tenths a lap.
Well, Piers,
A sector more
we'll
like.
come back to that after this replay. This is
Villagomez on
Sebastian
Montoya.
fighting away with Villagomez.
Villagomez up the inside. This is for track position, but of course Villagomez has that pit stop penalty after speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, so he has a penalty. As you can see, the red exclamation mark next to his name denoting that penalty to us on the graphics. But 4 in queue here, 5 as we look at it now. 4th in queue, Luke Browning, fastest on track, almost 2 seconds a lap faster than those ahead. He's on the soft tyre though. Can he keep this pace up? Can he take those tyres to the end at this pace, Piers? If he can, we could see him doing big things in this
Browning's
race.
gap is 5.2.
He could possibly challenge the likes of Alex Dunn as we watch Van Amersfoort of Villa Gomez, who's having a great weekend. He's fighting away here with the Invicta
Wait, that's Bennett.
driver.
That's not V. Gomez, it's
Just
Bennett.
ahead is, that's John Bennett, sorry, fighting away with Roman Stanek.
Dirkson's right behind both of them.
In behind that as they head through turn 4 now. A shame looking back at those replays for the likes of Jack Crawford. And we saw him have problems in the pit lane here last year. It's almost like we'd gone back a year there. Just not a good weekend for him. Megatune, if an opportunity missed for him this weekend. And here we see John Bennett. Can he get points? Be a great weekend for him if he can. And Joshua Dirksen looking to recover some. As Luke Browning is now just half a second behind Leo Fornaroli.
Yeah, we're looking at John Bennett here. I was chatting to John before the weekend, and he said that it's going to be tricky for him because he's not used to having such a big difference in terms of pace between qualifying and the race. But we're cutting back to this battle now. This is Browning in the number 7, the blue car there, the high-tech car with the Williams livery. He's on the back of Fornaroli, and I think this is a case of when, not if. Browning got more grip with those soft Pirelli tyres right on the back of Fornaroli. All he needs is a good exit out of this final corner.
I've completely
Browning's
forgot
rear
about
lights flashing. It looks like he's accidentally switched the
my
rain
leaderboard.
lights on. That's not indicating an issue. He's going to have DRS. Fornaroli wants to defend his podium position, though, going defensive early to try and break the toe. But DRS open for Browning. Looks to the inside. Fornaroli, I think, admits defeat at this stage.
Browning to 3rd.
Browning down the inside.
Gap is 4.7 seconds.
Complete, and that is onto the podium places for the Williams Junior. He's having quite the weekend, hasn't he, so far? Luke Browning, how far can he climb in this race? That is onto the podium, but his pace denotes that he can go even further up the podium steps in this race. John Bennett still defending from Joshua Dirksen. This the battle for P10. We're on lap 21 of 32 so far. Behind this, Ollie Goethe 3.2 seconds back. Your top 10, Dunn, Martins, Browning, Fornaroli, Marty. For sure is 2.5 back from Pepe Marti in 6th place, and it's Beganovic, Mini, Stanek, Bennett. It seems Luke Browning is the quickest driver on track currently, but Dunn is also setting very encouraging pace on those hard tyres as well, which will be putting the Rodin team at ease as we come through 9 and 10, watching this battle down the bottom end of the top 10.
Bennett's pitted very early. I think he was the first driver to pit from that hard side to the soft, trying to get that soft on as quickly as possible to get himself up the order. And at this stage, seems to be working. If he can hold on to 10th, it will be 1 point for Bennett in his first season in the Formula 2 Championship. But Dirksen, having pitted later for soft tyres, similar strategy to Bennett, but just doing it later on, means that he's going to have slightly fresher soft tyres. It's all about whether Bennett can keep these tyres hanging on.
Luke Browning is almost within that 1 second. He is. Luke Browning's going to have DRS now. As we
Gap is
look
still about,
back
well, now it's about 5
at John
seconds.
Bennett's trying to
But
get points, and
the
DRS
young
will
Brit
be enabled
closing
for
in
Browning when he goes down
on
to
the
turn
Frenchman.
We know Browning's race pace is as strong as ours, so I'm going to use the advantage of the good tyre now to build a gap and then hang on at the end if he gets slow.
Thank you, Alex. That's given us a rundown of what's going to happen at the end of this race. Thank you. It seems like he's... I was about to say before he came on the team radio that he's setting impressive pace. Considering
Yes.
Browning is on the soft tyre and Dunn is on the hard tyre, their pace is actually fairly comparable. Dunn only about 3
two
tenths
Williams,
slow, which is not massive
livery
considering the tyre delta.
For
He's
Martins and
going
Brown,
around.
he's going 2nd,
For reference,
3rd.
Dunn is going 1.2 seconds faster than Martins.
Bennett still
as
trying to
well.
hold on
He can
over
then make
Dirksen.
that gap last at the end, as he says, but Browning is coming very fast at Victor Martins here as this battle just keeps going on. It's really great, isn't it? Bennett for Dirksen. It is for the final point that we will hand out today. Points to the top 10.
I don't know if Villa Gomez
Similar
actually had any
format to
points
what
from
you have
last year.
for the Grand Prix later on. And we have have two, speaking of Williams Juniors, out with us. Victor Martins just signed to their program. They got him out in a car recently, and Luke Browning, you would have seen him out in FP1. 200 races we celebrate in Formula 2. And
The longer this battle goes on, the longer, the farther that Dunn will slip away.
We are looking at the stars of the future in Formula 1. Two of them going head-to-head here. Great inter F1 junior fights going on between the two Williams juniors. Are on different strategies though. Victor Martins, second place. Luke Browning, third. Luke Browning on those softer, quicker tyres. Will he take advantage now and go through at turn
DRS
one?
for
Victor
Browning.
Martins
He goes to the
does not
inside.
defend.
Luke Browning to
Browning
second.
will sail by down to turn one. And now
Can he
it
make
will
up
all
5.5
be
seconds in the
whether
last
he can
10
close
laps?
that
We
gap
are now
to the
at
Irishman
10 to
up front.
go.
Alex Dunn, who leads by 5.4 seconds, but this has been great. It was a gamble for Luke Browning, putting the hard tyre on from P3 when everyone else around him had the soft tyre, but now he is starting to come through the field, and the gamble, Piers, looks like it's paying off.
It's easy to say sitting here in the nice warm commentary box, but I was intrigued that most of the drivers inside the top 10 went for the soft tyre first, because even though Maloney did do that strategy last year, I think arguably most drivers had more success with going towards the hard at the end of the race.
Well, I guess the higher risk strategy is what paid off last year.
That hard tyre, but it's definitely working out for Browning so far. He's up into second place, and if he can continue the way he is, he's almost guaranteed a podium. He's going to have to work hard to close that gap to Dunn at the front of the field. Dunn, of course, setting pretty good lap times considering his hard tyre, but eventually, if he keeps pushing this hard, that hard tyre is going to fall away.
That high-tech team told him at the start, you know, don't worry about the option runners around you. Just let's win. Let's just win our race. And he got into the lead of that race, going past Joshua Dirksen, who was the lead hard tyre runner in the opening phase, built a gap, and now he's starting to come through the field. Dirksen down in 11th place. Of course, we saw him have a bit of a problem in the pit stop, but here we go. Now it's just about monitoring this gap between Dunn and Browning, and we can't count out Leo Fornaroli there either in 4th place. He's right there as well.
Fornaroli's on the hards.
Pepe Marti. This race, Piers, far from over.
Far from over. I think we're going to have a closing battle here that is potentially
Well,
going to
let's see. I think we're a lap later. I'd like to see the gap. Last time it was about 5.5 seconds. I can't see the gap.
And the team, of course, of High-Tech at that early stage, them saying, just bide your time. The race will come to you, and it is coming to him. Gap has reduced a little bit as we see a move. That's Stanek.
Stanek gets passed by Bennett for 9th place.
On the outside, if he can get that one complete, he's through at this stage, but then Stanek we're now looking on board with is under pressure from Dirksen. It looks like we potentially might have 3.
Ooh, is there going to be a 2-for-1 deal? Dirksen
Stanek
gets by Bennett and Stanek. 11th to 9th. And there's another car. There comes Arvid Lindblad.
Look at the Red Bull driver at the inside of Bennett. That's Ollie Goethe.
Excuse me, Oliver Goethe. Excuse me.
So,
damn, why do they gotta have 3 cars that look exactly the same? Ooh, contact there with Bennett and Stanek. Wars by for 10th place. And Goethe to the inside of Bennett to get 11th.
I think he has down to turn 9.
Ollie Goethe, no stranger to a bold move this weekend. We saw him get involved and go 3 wide on the outside of turn number 12 yesterday. Just about made it through safely. He's made it through on Bennett. These drivers fighting very, very hard because, of course, that is the battle over the final points-paying positions.
Now, we've spoken
Gap's
about
5.8 seconds to the lead. I don't think Browning will be able to catch up.
Mini likewise. So those two doing great things. Let's watch this back, please.
So this is Bennett trying to go up from 10th to 9th place around the outside of Stanek. Actually gets the move done. Very impressive on the brakes from Bennett. Goes around the outside, gets ahead at the apex. He then squeezes Stanek to the apex. So Stanek has to slow down. This is what cost Bennett here. That slide that he had in the middle of turn number 1 pushes him wide on the exit 1, which means that his line through 2 is then very, very shallow, and he has to lift off a lot, whereas the likes of Stanek and Dirksen could go flat out through 2, and that's what allowed them back through on Bennett. And unfortunately, that backward momentum allowed Goethe through as well, as Goethe has now got the DRS on Stanek, and this is for the final place in the top 10.
Pepe Marti on soft tyres as well. We talk about those drivers on the soft
Marti
almost
is in,
contact
fifth.
on the exit there. This is Ollie Goethe, apologies.
Goethe gets by Bennett for 11th.
John Bennett and Roman Stanek, but almost.
Officially.
You talk about Ollie Goethe trying to move
Stanek still holds the final points position.
Another one there.
Almost. Didn't quite get the move. He didn't quite do as dramatically as he did yesterday. Of course, we saw that 3 wide with, I think it was Mini Goethe and who were we on board with? I can't remember, but that was one of the highlights of the season, I'm sure, already this year. But Goethe, he played his race cool yesterday. He wasn't featuring a huge amount at the start, but then cut his way through at the end, and potentially seeing the same again today from Goethe, the Red Bull sponsored driver.
Out front, Alex Dunn has built his advantage further over Luke Browning as we are getting into the business end of the race. The gap is now 6.2 seconds. He was quicker than Browning last time for the first time in a few laps. We'll keep an eye on that gap for you. Browning is 3 seconds ahead of Martin, so the top 3 are separating themselves all from each other, but Fornaroli now has DRS on Martins. Let's watch this back. This is Stanek versus Goethe.
There was contact. It was Bennett, front wing, actually clipped the back of Goethe. Lucky for both of them. Lucky for Bennett that he didn't end up with any lasting front wing damage.
7 to go.
Doesn't seem so. And lucky for Goethe that it didn't either send him round or potentially damage that right rear tyre. But it doesn't seem to have deterred Goethe, as he's now right under the rear wing of the Invicta of Stanek. He's going to have DRS once again as we go down the main straight. Will we see another look down towards turn 1? That looks like Martin's falling into the clutches of Fornaroli now.
Yeah, he has DRS now. Fornaroli has been just biding his time in this race. He has gone missing from our pictures slightly, hasn't he? But and now he's going to become very much present again.
Leo for a podium.
Who was leading at the start of this
All right,
race.
turn 1 incident involving Bennett and Goethe, noted by the stewards.
Picked up on their fears between Bennett and Goethe, so we'll see if anything happens to that. But we have a fight for the podium places once again, and this fight continues to go on. It has been
fight for 10th place onward, now 10th through 13th. Stanek, Goethe, Bennett, Lindblad.
We saw the contact between those two a little while ago, but Lindblad, due to all this fighting, has come into this battle and is now going around the outside of Bennett, looking for a cutback. They'll put him on the inside of the exit of this corner, but that'll turn to the outside unless he can get through. Yes, using the good traction from his car underneath him. Lindblad makes a move on Bennett, but this is not done yet. Bennett has lost a place now, but if this all gets a bit messy, Bennett could still make his way through here. We're looking back from Stanek to Goethe.
This for the last point today, and you want any point you can get, and Lindblad wants to get in the points once again. He got it for the first time yesterday in Formula 2 on just his second weekend. And now he is
and Lindblad to 11th by Goethe.
Lindblad a step closer now to being in the points.
This would suggest to me that Lindblad has got better tyre life at this stage of the race, being able to pass Bennett into 8 and then Goethe into 11. He's making it look fairly easy now. He's romped up onto the back of Stanek and is going to be in prime position for a move down towards turn number 1. We're looking at turn number 1 now, and this is Fornaroli versus Victor Martins. Martins in the blue car, Fornaroli in the yellow Invicta. Fornaroli catching the back, gets a squirm out of turn 1, which means that Martins just has a bit of breathing room down towards turn number 4.
Fornaroli trying to get himself onto the podium. Let's see if he can do it. We saw him there at the opening round of the season with a second place on just his second weekend in Formula 2. Leo Fornaroli kicking off his first full season very strong. Known for his consistency, it's what took him to the Formula 3 title last year, being consistent with podium places, and now he wants to get 2 for 2 in terms of Formula 2 podiums in the opening 2 rounds. Trying to get past Victor Martins here, but Pepe Marti is starting to close in as well. He's almost at the point where he can have the advantage of DRS as well. 1.1 behind, that's worth keeping an eye on in this battle.
It's all coming together for the final places on the podium. We look at this battle down the order now. Roman Stanek in the yellow car, defending from Lindblad down towards turn. Lindblad has DRS. Can he go around the outside?
With the DRS, Lindblad took 10th place.
Easy move around the outside. So Stanek moves down, Lindblad moves up. Lindblad's got good pace at this stage of the race, but looking back towards the front, actually, just for a second, Dunn, his pace is hugely impressive.
The last corner is very strong.
good observation from the Invicta team there that Fornaroli is strong through that last corner. And there's anywhere on the circuit that you want to be strong.
Fornaroli still
that is
chasing
it,
that
because it puts you in
podium.
a good position down towards turn 1 as he is right now. Fornaroli in.
Oh, I think he's going to make the
slipstream,
move
and
here.
The DRS looks to the inside.
To the inside.
Martins covers, but Fornaroli goes
F3 champion looking for his first podium in F2, and he'll get to third
will look
spot.
to get a good exit and fight back down towards turn number 4, but he has to be careful of Marty right behind.
Leo Fornaroli doing a great job there to get himself up to third place.
Warren's trying to get it back. DRS down the next straightaway. They're side by side entering the next turn, but Fornaroli holds on to the spot.
Fighting for the final step on the podium, and Victor Martins wants that third place back from Leo Fornaroli into the S.
5 to go.
Pepe Marti is joining the party in this battle for third. Richard Verschoor 2.5 seconds behind, will want in on this as well. Dino Beganovic likewise. This could become a 5-way battle. Leo Fornaroli leading it for the time being.
Here we go. Where are we? This is Stanek getting overtaken by Gerther, I think. Yes, it is. And Stanek looking to get the cutback. Stanek's tyres, I think, just falling away a little bit at this stage of the race. We're on board with Stanek now. This is down towards turn number 1 as the 2 VAR cars go side by side into turn 1.
That's Villa Gomez making a move.
Making a move on Bennett. So Bennett, he pitted early, got himself track position, but unfortunately his tyres are falling away and he's falling down the field. Now we're looking at Marty on the back of Victor Martins. Marty in that Red Bull livery number 3. It looks like that Martin's tyres are just falling away. Doesn't have the pace at this stage of the race.
From 11th on the grid last year, Pepe Marti got 2 podiums. Will history repeat itself for the young Spaniard? He said in the build-up to yesterday's race that he knows
Pepe Marti's in
from 11th
5th.
on the grid, and he went and won the race in one of his finest drives of his career, and now he's charging towards the podium.
The outside of Victor Martins, Pepe Marti to 4th.
Pepe Marti is through. He's one step closer to the podium positions. The Campos Racing driver is into 4th, and now he's just one step away from another double podium here at Bahrain.
That was the advantage of the better tyres that Pepe Marti has got at the moment. Got a good exit out.
Arvid Lindblad by Joshua Dirksen for 9th. 4 laps to go.
A decisive move down to turn 1. He can take his normal racing line, which means that he hasn't lost a huge amount of time, and potentially there's time for Marti to chase down Fornaroli as well.
Out front, Alex Dunn is doing a superb job. The Irishman here on to take back-to-back feature race wins here at Bahrain for the Rodin Motorsport team. It was Zane Maloney last year, and Alex Dunn looks set to make history for Ireland with the pace he's setting. This is Dirksen versus the number 4 of Arvid Lindblad.
Yeah, Lindblad again managing to get the move done before the braking zone, and it seems to be the way that things are going at the moment. The drivers that have looked after their tyres better are able to make easy moves, so conserving your tyres early on is the way to go. As we see Miata trying to go around the outside in a big slide from Montoya. I think his tyres, especially his rear ones, have cried enough. We saw a wheel spin moment out of this number corner, turn 10, earlier in the race. We've seen another wheel spin moment out of turn 8. He went from the softs to the hards, and those hards clearly not allowing him the grip that he needs to fend off these drivers. The Rodin driver, 16, making his way through there. That's Cordial moving up a place.
3 laps to go. Cordial got to 16th over Montoya.
Been a little bit out of sequence in terms of his strategy, but he will look to come back again, still fighting away with Amaury Cordial. John Bennett in behind has had some great battles today. Jack Crawford, problem in the pit lane earlier in the race. Krishmani 20th and Exterson. Shields rounding out the field so far. Pepe Marti closing in for 3rd. This is Crawford just trying to get himself back up the order and recover in this race. And he is now ahead of John Bennett as we go on to lap 33 to go in the 200th race of
Been 3 to go. Dunn just has a big advantage over the others.
In the battle for the podium places. Meanwhile, that's the 25 of Villa Gomez, who is having a really strong weekend. He'll leave this one high on confidence, and that's another.
Villa Gomez is currently 12th.
This time on Roman Stanek, please.
Stanek looking
That's
to
yeah,
go back
just
past
ahead of
the
Roman
outside
Stanek
line,
with
get to
Gerther in
Villa
11th,
Gomez had the
Negative
DRS
in
down towards turn
14th.
4. Villa Gomez moving on up to 12th place. We ride on board with Bertomo
Miata,
Miata.
there's Miata on Montoya.
We caught the second half of this battle, but it's side by side going towards turn 6. This was
Well, I guess
with
it's Montoya on
Seb
Miata.
Montoya going
Get him back.
wide into turn 6, wide through 7. Then this is where Ritomo Miata went around the outside of turn 8. Not often seen. Just more traction, of course.
Outside
Miata on
and a
the
hairpin.
softer option tyres, using that grip to get the traction out of the corner and make
There's
his way
Vershaw
through.
currently in 6th.
Richard Vershaw now closing in on Martins as well. So the battle is hotting up here for 5th
2 to go.
Dino Beganovic is there as well. We did say to watch for the pace of these two because they've been setting consistent pace. And Beganovic is going with Vershaw, and they're both going after Martin. So we could see 2 battles in the final 2 laps here, Piers. 1 for 5th, 1 for 3rd as well. And Pepe Marti is almost there. He's almost got DRS. He's
1
400
second
away
gap. I think this
from
will be
having
decided
that.
on the final
But
lap,
someone
the
who does
final
have
podium
DRS is
position.
Richard Vershaw in the orange MP, and he's
Battle for
getting
5th
closer to
ongoing
Victor
as well with
Martins.
Victor Martins, Richard Vershaw, and Dino Beganovic, all separated by about a second.
As well as some of the other drivers inside the top 10. Martin's under pressure.
Pepe Martins within a second of Fornaroli.
He's managed to extend the gap ever so slightly, and actually, if anything, it looks like Vershaw coming under a little bit of pressure from Beganovic at this stage. Beganovic in the back of that shop with the silver high-tech TGR car.
Down through the S's. Is anyone going to get close enough to be able to make a move in this? Martins cannot afford a single mistake. A mistake here, Piers, and he loses 2 places because they are lining up. Richard Vershaw and Dino Beganovic here are ready to pounce if Martins is to make a single mistake there in 5th place.
So a little bit of oil on the lens there from the exhaust of Vershaw in front being wiped across. The drivers have tear-offs on their visors to do a similar sort of thing. We saw one of the drivers, I think it was Beganovic earlier in the race, going for a tear-off. But that won't distract him too much. He'll be completely focused on the rear end of the driver in front, Vershaw in the orange car. And then he'll also be looking ahead, thinking if I can get past Vershaw, or if Vershaw makes a clumsy move on Victor Martins, I could be in for a couple of positions here. It's going to be 1 more lap after this.
Gabriele Mini is up to...
Looking back at that, about
No,
third
sorry,
place.
Lindblad passes
Martin's
Gabriele
gonna be
Mini.
within DRS.
White flag is out.
We're gonna
Last
have a
lap
consistent
at
finish with
Bahrain.
place on the podium, as well as 5th downwards as well.
Down to the final 2 corners. Here we go. Fornaroli has been caught.
There's the battle
by
for
Pepe
3rd.
Marti. The
Pepe
battle
Marti
is
have
on
enough
for the final
DRS
step
to
of
make
the
the pass
podium.
down the
And
front
Marti
straightaway.
is
What about
closing in.
Vershaw on
Fornaroli knows it.
Martins?
He's trying to break the toe down to turn 1. Meanwhile, in the background, Martins is doing the same.
Is Marti gonna
And
try and
Pepe
go around the
Marti is
outside?
going to use all the
Yeah,
track to the
almost side by
outside
side.
as he
Couldn't
goes
quite
down
get
the
there.
outside of Fornaroli, and this battle will continue as they head up to turn 4. Fornaroli versus Marti. 1 more step left on the podium. Who's
Marti's
going
got
to
more
take it?
DRS. He goes to the inside.
Marti to the outside.
Fornaroli runs him down to the apex, or the outside of the corner. Fornaroli holds on.
Looked like he went slightly deep on the brakes, but we still have half a lap to go.
Very assertive defence from Fornaroli there. He said to Marti, "You're going on the outside." He went all the way over the white line on the inside and then chopped back across to the outside.
Fornaroli is driving the defensive driving of his life
that's about
right
the
now.
limit of where he could have gone any more in the race direction. We'll be looking at that, but you can see the tyres, the rear tyres of Fornaroli falling away. Bit of a square.
Marti trying another run around the outside. Cut off again by Fornaroli.
DRS down towards turn 11. Not
This could be
normally
the
a
danger zone,
regulation
though.
overtaking opportunity, but he's close enough that he might have a look. Fornaroli defensive once again, all the way to the inside.
Fornaroli moving a block
Marti, I don't think will be
again.
happy with this, but I think just about okay from Fornaroli. Fornaroli
He's
again,
barely
the exit
holding
turn
on to
11,
his position.
Just about holding off on the
Oh
mark.
man!
Marti, that
Marti
might
looks to the
help
inside
his
again,
last 2
but
corners.
was denied.
Really good defensive driving from Fornaroli there as they come through
And
turn
this is for
13.
3rd place.
out
But
front,
meanwhile, up
history
front,
will be made on
it's
the
Irish
championship
time
race
tonight.
of F1
Alex
Formula
Dunn
2.
is a Formula 2
Alex
winner.
Dunn takes his first win. It's
Luke Browning will
feature
take
race
2nd.
wins for Road
How about the
Motorsport
battle for
in
3rd?
Bahrain. And the final step of the podium will be decided at the very final corner.
Leonardo
And
Fornaroli
to
will take the
line,
final
and it
step
will be
on the
Leonardo
podium.
Fornaroli
4th place
just-
is Pepe Marti.
just
5th
hangs
place,
on
Victor
ahead
Martins.
of Pepe
6th place,
Marti
Richard
to
Vershaw.
join Luke
7th place,
Browning on
Dino
the
Beganovic.
podium.
8th, Arvid
Alex
Lindblad.
Dunn
9th
taking
is
the win
Gabriele
up
Mini.
front.
Joshua
His first
Dirksen
win
takes
in
10th.
Formula 2. They know how
All
to
right,
win.
and that was the Formula 2 feature race. I'll be back in about 3 hours or 2.5 hours to do the Bahrain Grand Prix. Thanks to everyone who showed up. See you for the main events. BowserJrXD signing off. Have a good one.